We now have Shri G.P. Upadhyay Sir, Advisor, Mines and Geology, Government of Sikkim, with us, and I would request Shri Hemant Goel Sir and Shri Kuldeep Agarwal Sir to offer khadas, mementos and gifts. I may now request Shri G.P. Upadhyay Sir to kindly come on stage to address the program.
Start the next session. We have another very important guest with us, Shri G.P. Upadhyay IAS, who, in fact, he was the person who thought of establishing BOSSE over here in Sikkim. And of course, in the morning I was saying that the minister also supported it, but it is he was instrumental in making BOSSE a reality. And he was the Additional Chief Secretary, Education. And as Additional Chief Secretary in Education, he supported us in every way. And it is because of him that we have come to this stage, that we can organize a conference of COBSE, Council of Boards of School Education, of all the boards in the country. Sir, let me tell you, there are 39 boards who are present over here. And the theme is implementing NEP 2020, role of school education boards. And I recollect we had a conference in UNESCO, and he was our guest of honor over there. Chief guest, in fact, chief guest he was there. And the director of UNESCO was also there. And you supported us in every way, and you guided us. And your speech was really inspiring. So today also he has come, in spite of his busy schedule, he has been able to make it. He was supposed to come in the morning, but somehow he couldn't make it in the morning. So, but he said, I'll come at this time. And in the morning, I'll tell you what has happened. The Honorable Education Minister was the chief guest. And the Chief Director of Department of Education was here, Sonam, I forget his second name. He was there. And of course, we had the President of COBSE, Ms. Asano, and we have the Secretary of COBSE also, Mr. Sharma, MC Sharma. And I welcomed the guests, and I briefed them about the conference, what our concept is, concept note of the conference, and the approach paper. I told them how we will go about in the conference, how many sessions will be there, and you have this in your folder. I will not repeat the full thing, but we have sessions on curriculum and pedagogy, which is going to happen now. And then we have presentations by boards. In the morning, we had the keynote address on assessment, transformation of assessment and equivalence of boards. Then we have some other sessions. One session on Bharatiya Gyan based education, which is a major recommendation of NEP 2020. We have a session on that. And so we have sessions like that. And then we'll have group work. One group will deliberate upon the way ahead, how the boards will go ahead with implementing the policy. And the second group will discuss about, one major recommendation of the conference is that the board should hold twice a year exams twice a year. So they will deliberate upon that. And I had added to that when we are saying twice a year, it can be semesterization also. So we have to move towards semesters. That is what the policy says. And we have to move towards semesterization. So that will be a part of it also. Because 2 exams the boards are already doing. One compartment exam is already there in every board. Some boards do it twice. The 2 compartments also they give, some boards. So I think what the policy, when it says 2 exams in a year, I think they have semester system in mind. I'm not sure. But in NCERT also this discussion has taken place. I was there in a meeting. They had prepared a report and I was vetting that report. So that is what we have done since morning. And now you have come to guide us. Please come and address.
Good afternoon, friends. President of COBSE, Chairman of BOSSE, and all distinguished people who are here in the beautiful city of Gangtok in this beautiful weather. I am very delighted to be here. In fact, I missed the morning sessions and I could not come in the morning, but I am glad that I could make it finally today. I extend a very warm welcome to all the people who have come here from different boards from all over the country. And I recall the journey of BOSSE, which happened when I was handling the education department some time back. When I took over I will share some of my experiences of handling education department as secretary in the state of Sikkim. And of course, I was involved in the formulation of NEP. I was a member of several committees in MHRD, the then MHRD. And when I came to the education department, I was told that it is a very challenging department for being the head of the department, and improving education is not very easy. Schools, government schools, suffering from so many problems, competition with private schools, and there are so many issues. Unavailability of teachers and all kinds of things, teachers being busy in so many things other than teaching, so many administrative responsibilities. So in the state of Sikkim, for example, I found that one of the biggest issues which we were facing, apart from the common issues of teachers shortage or teachers mostly trying to be in urban areas, not willing to go to rural areas, and that way depriving the rural schools of their presence and teaching and so on and so forth. We also had an issue of acute shortage of science and maths teachers in the state of Sikkim, and I think the entire Northeast suffers from this. Maybe in the entire country, I don't know, but the present situation, but in Sikkim we were suffering very badly, and that led to a fear of maths and science among the children. And when we try to find out what is happening with the maths people who are coming to teach maths and why they are not staying in the schools, why they are leaving the schools or whatever, I found that all those people who came to teach as GT Maths or PGT Maths or GT Science, invariably they all got selected into some government job other than teaching. For example, somebody became inspector of police, somebody became civil servant, somebody became something. They were able to complete the exams and they left the system. So basically the thing is that the profession of teaching, unfortunately, even today, I feel it's very strong. My parents were teachers, both of them. But somehow the profession of teaching is not very much looked up to by the young aspirants as a career. And I also remember that, the teachers, we had a lot of conferences of teachers to motivate them. And they were being told one thing repeatedly, that you are building up the state, building up the future of the country. Don't take your teaching profession as a government job, that you come at 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, go at 3 o'clock or whatever. Try to be a guru. Try to be a mentor to the children. And then in the hill areas, in Northeast, many states suffer from the problem of, single parents or child coming to school without breakfast and, falling, fainting in the prayer meeting and all that or whatever. And then, we assigned about 10 students, a group of 10 students to one teacher as a teacher, and we redesignated him as teacher guardian. So that one teacher became teacher guardian for about 10 students. Now, whether they are dressed up properly or not, their dresses are clean or not, they have taken breakfast or not, all these things were being looked after by those teacher guardians. And that led to a dramatic improvement in attendance. Students were staying back at home on the smallest pretexts, because schools did not have, for example, toilets or girls' toilet or whatever. So then, of course, government also started, and Sikkim schools have been fortunate. We have had a good infrastructure. But as I said, it was very difficult to motivate somebody bright to come for a teaching profession. And I am also part of it. Myself personally, I have been a very bright student in my childhood, and I studied in IITs and all that. But after doing IIT and all, we all came for civil service because of whatever reason. I mean, I cannot justify or not justify it today, but this is the fact of the life, that we are drawn towards administrative services because of their attraction. And people who are good in academics, they don't go to academics. They get some. So the same thing is happening all over the country. So in Sikkim, one more problem was that students were actually dropping out after class 8. The dropout ratio was very high at secondary level. Let's say 20%, 22% or whatever. So it's generally high at the national level also, but here it was really very high, and we were worried why they were leaving. So of course, all of you are aware of it. No detention policy and all those kinds of stuff were there, and they were able to reach class 8, and then suddenly class 9 was like a big obstacle to clear. And class 9 enrollments were surging all over the state, in all secondary schools, senior secondary schools. The classrooms were not able to accommodate children because, children were failing, repeating class 9, and more coming to class 9, and all these problems we were grappling with. And then students were ultimately dropping after class 9 or whatever. Then the second thing, in hill areas, I found that, they were very keen to take up unemployment at a very young age. So unlike in the plain areas, for example, I am from UP. I live in Delhi now, mostly. So, there the students are struggling to get a better job, preparing for competitive exams or whatever, going for higher education, post-graduation. Here, after class 8, 9, if they were not able to clear, that was one reason. Second reason was they want to take up a job. And any job would do, for example, if they can become a driver, if they can become a small, whatever. So I found that the students were suffering from lack of ambition. they did not have an ambition of going very high in career, doing very well and going for a good job. So whether, of course, if you are a good driver, you command a lot of market value. It's not that, for example, I can tell you I live in Delhi. It's very difficult to get a good driver in Delhi or any place for that matter. The word good driver is a little subjective, but there are few common things. For example, coming on time, not divulging where you are going, what you are talking in the vehicle, on phone, and doing your small little works of bank, this, that, whatever, or some other sundry kind of things. So I said that, even if they want to become such things, take up such careers because they want to be independent early in life, okay, it's fine, but then at least class 10, class 12, if they can speak proper English, if they can be a little more aware of Sikkim's history and heritage and culture, because they will be the people who are coming in the contact with tourists as a first point of contact. So then this discussion about, because we don't have a school board even now, a government school board. We are all, government schools are CBSE schools, some private schools are ICSE schools, couple of them also have IB curriculum. So we thought about having a public-private partnership, a board, which can focus more on the skill part of it, and giving somebody dignity of having cleared class 10 and class 12 exam, while still working, and a kind of open schooling. So the idea was discussed, debated, and everybody accepted it. The Honorable Minister was very forthcoming. He has been a pillar of support. And there were obstacles in the sense that people were initially not able to accept this concept, that how can there be a board like this, or can we do it or not, and this and that. Finally, everybody agreed to it, and we passed the legislation in the State Assembly, and it came into being. And I'm very happy today they are hosting the 52nd annual conference of COBSE. And I think it has been a couple of years that BOSSE was established, and they have been struggling with few issues, I suppose, in the beginning, which are now getting sorted out, and I'm sure they will do very well. Now, this kind of problem of dropping out and all can be really addressed using, having this kind of board, and I'm sure BOSSE will play its part very effectively. NEP, all of you know the subject is NEP, so I'll speak couple of minutes on NEP. Since I was part of NEP, and I remember very distinctly, Sikkim was one of the first states, fortunately. We signed an agreement with UNESCO's MGIEP, Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Development. And we revised our primary textbooks, because I found that the primary textbooks which we were using were actually being read in a very mechanical way by the students. They were not finding it very interesting. So what we thought was that if we can revise our primary textbooks, and all of you know perhaps that many rural areas, especially hill areas like Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Arunachal, Himachal, there is a flocking of people in the urban areas. Rural areas are not having too many children. In Sikkim, the fertility rate has gone down to 1.1. So very few children are being born. So government schools at the primary level have got very few children. And there is a competition with private schools, because at the primary level there is a plethora of private schools. They are less at the higher levels, because it is difficult to run a school at a higher level, requires a lot of requirements to be fulfilled. Primary mein aasan hai, easy hai. So there is a large number of primary schools. So competition with primary schools, children dropping out, income of people going up in the state with the prosperity and all kinds of things coming. So anybody having some disposable income would think that my child will not go to a government school. He will go to a private school. And they are so enamored of, I'm not saying private schools are bad or good, it's a subjective thing. Many of them are outstanding, many of them are not very good also. But then for the parents who have some little disposable income, they wanted to send them to private schools. That मेरा बच्चा तो private school में ही पढ़ेगा, good morning, good evening बोलेगा, बस they are very happy with good morning and good evening. Teaching और क्या हो रही है इससे कोई मतलब नहीं है. तो anyway, so the point is that this kind of thing was happening, so we thought of revising our textbooks, and we went for stories from Sikkim, names from Sikkim, depiction from Sikkim, real life stories. For example, I remember very clearly, we found there was a widow in a place called Pakyong, where the airport is. She was selling vegetables. So we had a story on the vegetable seller. And what we did was, that lady became a widow, her husband passed away. She had a little piece of land, so she was doing organic farming. Sikkim is an organic state, the only organic state in the country. And she was selling the vegetables in the market, making grooming her children. So, we used local names, for example, the names, not like, names borrowed from outside, like James, Victor, whatever. We used local names, and the same story was depicted, and all kinds of lessons were woven into that. For example, small mathematics, when you sell it, how much money will come, this, whatever, cost of production, this, that. Organic farming, why organic farming? Because it protects the soil, it is not taxing on the environment and all. And then, her enterprise, her guts in raising her family alone, and things like that. And then, of course, when you enter the market from home, then you have to encounter the market forces and all kinds of good and bad things in the market you see. So all those things. So we revised all class 1 to class 5 textbooks. They are available on the SCRT website, soft copies. And they were so much appreciated by NCRT and also by the Union Ministry of Education. It was actually a step in the direction of NEP. NEP basically was that teach them in their mother tongue, teach them local things, give them the lessons which they can absorb, and they can learn so many things in an activity-based learning or in a fun-based learning, without reading the books as a mechanical activity and just trying to clear the exam. So it did very well, and the books were printed and then hailed by everyone as a very good this thing. It was, I think, about 4 or 5 years back, and NEP came in 2020, I think on 29th of July. So I'm very happy that we had done this preparatory work, and of course we thought about BOSSE, and BOSSE today is now hosting this conference. So I'm sure all of you are very distinguished, learned people from all boards all over the country. You have your own experience, and teaching a child in a school is one of the most difficult tasks which I have seen. I have sat in the classes, I have gone to the schools, I have gone to the rural areas, I have seen teachers teaching, and I found it is such a difficult task to engage everybody's attention in the class. And if somebody can do it, so we tried in our own little way, and we learned from others. And I'm sure all of you are playing a very, very big role in shaping up this country's future. The students who are coming up, when I read the stories of, for example, not only read the stories, when I see students, when I see young people today, some of them talking in a very, unacceptable kind of a way, or people, losing their temper at a slightest provocation. Tolerance is just not there. Not respecting colleagues, elders, teachers, and not respecting the environment, not respecting things surrounding them. I feel very sad about it, because this is a very big part of education, that when a child comes into the real life as a professional, as a businessman, as a civil servant, as whatever, as a teacher, in whatever capacity, he or she, if he or she is not a good human being, then I think the entire meaning of education is lost. I mean, it is not only a means to earn a degree and get a good job. For example, when I see some IS officers, young IS, I keep meeting them, keep addressing them. When I talk to them, and when I find some of them, I cannot say what they say, which makes me disappointed or frustrated. But I feel that, there is something missing. They have become IAS, they have qualified the exam, everything is fine, but then something very crucial is missing. If you're sitting in the office, if you don't treat your office people with respect, if you don't give them proper respect, your drivers, your peons, your person who brings tea to you, or whatever, then you go and meet people in the field, you meet poor people, you meet people who have suffered because of the system, because of whatever reason. If you don't take care of them, if you can't give them consolation as an officer, then I think a very big part of education is missing. Then there are incidents of violence in the schools, and a lot of things are happening. So I think we need to look at all of it in a very holistic way. School education prepares child for higher education, and it is the real foundation, especially at the primary level, so and junior high school level. So with these words, I will end my address, and I once again thank BOSSE and COBSE for having me here, and it was a real pleasure addressing all of you and sharing some of my thoughts, because I have been as an administrator in the sector. I was born in a family of teachers, so I have seen the teaching profession very closely. My mother used to give me the UP board copies for checking the total. She used to be, examiner. So in our summer vacation, we used to do all that work for her and do the retotaling. And so thank you once again, and I wish all the very best to this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your experiences will be very valuable for us. And the way you have talked about Sikkim and its education system and what are the lacunae over there, we have to think about it. Thank you for your guidance.
Thank you so much, sir. Taking the program forward, the technical session 1 will be chaired by Ms. Anita Devraj, former school principal, DAV, and member, Academic Advisory Council and Board of Management, BOSSE. We have Dr. Kuldeep Agarwal, Chairman, Board of Open Schooling and Skill Education Sikkim, as the speaker on the topic Philosophy of NEP 2020, and Ms. Nidhi Kapoor, Academic Officer, BOSSE Sikkim, as the speaker on the topic Recommendations of NCF 2023, Implications for School Education Boards.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, can I speak in Hindi also? मेरा भाषा है ना, and English also I can speak. थोड़ा बहुत मैं बोल लेती हूँ English में भी, but I'll mix it up. Okay, so namaskar everyone over here, and you're all back after having a good lunch. I'm very sure about it, but some of you are missing from here. That means they had far too good a lunch. They found it more tastier than us. So in any case, but all those who are here, I'm thankful to you that you are over here to listen to Dr. Kuldeep Agarwal and Nidhi over here. They are very good speakers. And I was just thinking how to start off, actually. When I heard Mr. Upadhyay speaking over here, I was just actually wondering, NEP to bahut acha hai, it's very good. But I was just wondering, how will you carry NEP across to the students? And he spoke the language which I was thinking also. And I appreciate the fact that he was able to speak. He was able to convey so much more information about education in the schools also. But I'm very happy that he deserved a standing ovation when he said that he was the person who introduced BOSSE to Sikkim. And let me tell you one thing. First and foremost, I must congratulate Himanji and Kuldeepji and his team of young girls over here that they started this board in 2021? 20. Okay, yes, 20. And aaj 23 hai. And within this small period of time, they were able to do a lot of work. In fact, being a member of the board over here, Let me tell you also one thing, कि day and night, these people have worked. The entire team of BOSSE have worked very hard, and they received immense cooperation from Hemant ji also, which is very good. अगर ऊपर बैठा हुआ शख्स आपकी मदद करता रहे, तो you can do anything. That I am very sure of it. And they were able to do it. और सबसे अच्छी बात ये है कि they were able to hold a conference of such a vast level over here, which other boards, I don't know about the other boards, but I have been a member of the Haryana board also, and for a very long period of time, and I was member of NCRT also, and I was just wondering how many people have really done a conference in such a short span of time. So I think we must give a big round of clap to these people. They deserve it. They deserve it. And I'm very proud to be a member of their advisory council also and a board of management also. So talking about education, you know, like NEP ko andar kaise hum karenge, the philosophy, Dr. Agarwal will speak to you about it, and Nidhi will also add something more to it also. But I was just wondering, you know, how will you carry it across? Because hamara teachers, as he very rightly pointed out, Upadhyay Sahab, that teachers don't remain. They do their B.Ed, and they become, because very funny. I mean, if you really have thought about it, कि जितने भी, I am very happy to see so many young men. I do not know आप लोगों का background क्या है. I really don't know. But one thing is definitely there. The boys don't like to continue with being a teacher because marriage market में teacher का कोई value नहीं है. You know, a clerk has a better value. Teacher master जी है, मेरा पति master जी है, is too much. So they don't want to be there, and they want to be clerks. And secondly, टीचर्स जो लेडी टीचर्स आती हैं उनके पास बहुत सारे काम होते हैं सुबह से लेकर शाम तक. स्कूल पहले तो स्कूल के अंदर भी उनका दिमाग घर में ही रहता है, यू नो, थिंकिंग अबाउट कि बच्चे क्या कर रहे हैं, पता नहीं मेड आई है, अगर दे आर बेटर ऑफ मेड आई है नहीं आई है, क्या काम करना पड़ेगा. तो दे आर कॉन्स्टेंटली थिंकिंग अबाउट इट. डू यू रियली थिंक दे विल हैव टाइम टू थिंक अबाउट सच इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स एज वॉट हैज़ बीन रिटन ओवर हियर? लाइक डॉक्टर अग्रवाल हैज़ प्रेजेंटेड अ पेपर आउट हियर. He has given it to me, and he is going to speak on something different. He says philosophical approach to the education part of it. And he says following are the important philosophical approaches which should be taken into account. Aligned with the aspirational goals of 21st century education, instilling knowledge and learning how to learn. मुझे याद है, it's very important, I tell you, frankly speaking, I went to a public school. Like Upadhyay Sahib pointed out, that अच्छा school. So we came from UP. I didn't come from UP, I was born here only. But my parents came from UP, and they did not want us to go to a government school or to a Hindi medium school. They sent us to a school which was run by English people. It was not an English medium school, it was run by the English people over there. And that was very famously known as Presentation Convent in Delhi. And very good school, very good school. And we learned English. And we really learned English very well. I did history in class 6th, 7th and 8th, that is ancient, medieval and modern. आप भी जानते ऐसे पढ़ते होंगे ना आप भी. Then I went to school when 9th, 10th, 11th, क्योंकि हमारे ज़माने में +2 नहीं था, हमारे ज़माने में सीनियर कैम्ब्रिज ही था और 11th तक चलता था. 9th, 10th, 11th, again ancient, medieval, modern. Then I went on to choose history as my graduation subject. That was again ancient, medieval and modern. Then I did MA, ancient, medieval and modern. So history became so clogged in my mind that I thought that really. But then after, you know, all this, when I came to college, because it was an English school, so they always said that the Britishers have done so much good for us people over here. हम poor Indians के साथ हम क्या थे, हमें कुछ भी तो नहीं आता था. हम लोग तो सपेरे थे और हाथियों पे घूमते थे बैठ के. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone sitting on the hathi and घूमोing, you know. I don't know how they did it. Khair, in any case, so it was like this. And when I came to college, and one of my teachers, who happened to be my sister-in-law of our Delhi Chief Minister, शीला दीक्षित की sister-in-law थी वो. I've forgotten her name. But I will remember. दीक्षित नाम था उनका भी. तो प्रभा दीक्षित, sorry. And she asked, तुमने BA, तुमने स्कूल के अंदर British history के बारे में क्या पढ़ा? And we all raised our hand because we all came from one of those schools only. And very clear, we said, oh, they have done so good for us, you know. we were, we didn't know anything about education. उन्होंने हमको पढ़ाया, उन्होंने हमको रेलवेज भी दे दी, उन्होंने टेलीग्राफ भी दे दिया, उन्होंने दुनिया भर की चीज़ें हमको दे दी और हमको इंसान बना दिया. And she was so furious with us, so furious. She says, what rubbish, क्या पढ़ के आते हो? Next time you dare say these words. Then she taught us what actually history was. But then, unfortunately, हमारी जितनी भी history है, they have been written by a set of people who were educated during those times. They learnt history from those people. और आज भी जो किताबें लिखते हैं वो भी यही सब कुछ लिखते हैं. अब हमारे बॉसे के अंदर किताबें लिखी जा रही हैं, एंड बाई विद वॉट, पता नहीं कौन सा, आई थिंक कितना इन लोगों में एनर्जी है कि दे डू इट, एंड दे मेक अस ऑल्सो वर्क. सम ऑफ द मेंबर्स सिटिंग आउट हियर, दे मेक अस ऑल्सो वर्क वेरी हार्ड. तो we sat down to write, and we asked people to write lessons for the board, and they came out again with that same idea. वही पुराना बातें सारी लिख के दे दी हमने कि अंग्रेज़ कितने अच्छे थे, हम कितने बेकार थे. वी ऑल्सो लर्न कि हमारा एंशिएंट इंडियन हिस्ट्री के अंदर तो कुछ था ही नहीं. वेरएज एंशिएंट इंडिया के बारे में अगर आप पढ़ें तो यू विल बी सरप्राइज्ड. In fact, one of the members over here spoke about Sanskrit, and I tell you one thing, in my school we did everything in English. हम हिंदी में बोल ही नहीं पाते थे. रिजल्ट क्या हुआ, that one day I very proudly told somebody, I can't speak in Hindi at all, it's not. एंड कुछ बात नहीं हुआ, अंदर आ गए, घर आ गए. जब घर आके तो वो जो डांट पड़ी मेरा मम्मी से और दादी से कि हाउ स्टूपिड कैन यू गेट, इट्स योर मदर टंग, एंड यू वर सेइंग आई डोंट नो हिंदी, व्हाट इज ऑल दिस बकवास, डू यू डेयर नॉट से दिस वर्ड एवर इन फ्यूचर. एंड वी लर्नड अ लेसन. Okay, so we started speaking Hindi, and Hindi is one of the, and I tell you one thing, I really started loving Hindi, because earlier I used to read English novels, but then I started reading Hindi, and started with Vayam Rakshame, which was written by Acharya Chatursen. Has anyone read it? Has anyone read it? Oh, please do. Please do. Acharya Chatursen ki padhiye aap. Vayam Rakshame. It's a beautiful novel which he has written, and it's all about Ravan. He's from right from his birth. जब से वो पैदा हुआ और जब तक वो मरा नहीं, तब तक उन्होंने लिखा. And I tell you, it's fantastic. You must read it. And I fell in love with Hindi. और आज अब मैं इंग्लिश की नॉवेल्स नहीं पढ़ पाती हूँ. I can't read it because मुझे लगता है इसमें कुछ है ही नहीं. क्या पढ़ूँ मैं इसको? And then I started reading Hindi novels. I read about Sanskrit, and मेरे को लगा संस्कृत में हम जब पढ़ते थे तो हमें बोला जाता था संस्कृत सिर्फ इतना पढ़ लो कि तुम्हारे को पास हो जाओ, और हमारे पास का मायने ये होता था कि ज़ीरो से ऊपर हो जाओ, ये 2-3 नंबर मिल जाए तो निकल जाओगे तुम लोग. तो हम यही करते थे, और अगर हमें बस एक ही लता लकार आती थी विच वी राइट, और अगर नहीं बोल पाते थे खूब पिटाई होती थी यहाँ पे सो भैया पब्लिक स्कूल्स डोंट स्लैप यू, दे हिट यू विद अ फुट्टा, वो भी धीमा धीमा टप टप टू ओनली. सो वी गॉट 2 टप टप्स एंड वी वर हैप्पी विद दैट टप टप बिकॉज इट डिडंट hurt us. But then later on, when I was about 60 years old, and I realized, oh my God, because that's the first time I got introduced to Upanishad. Not 60 years old, 50 years old. Upanishad. And I read, what was it, this, Nachiketa ki kitab kya thi, Manvendra? Nachiketa wali Upanishad? Kathopanishad, that's the book. Kathopanishad. And it was a beautiful story written about a small boy, Nachiketa, and about his parents, and when he goes to meet Yama, तो यमा के पास जाते हैं because father had given him to Yama. So and I was telling, and यमा के पास जाते हैं, यमा होते नहीं हैं, और चित्रगुप्त वहाँ पे होते हैं. तो चित्रगुप्त कहते हैं कि भाई तुम अंदर नहीं आओगे, तुम वहाँ बाहर बैठो, जब तक यम नहीं आ जाएंगे तब तक आप अंदर नहीं आएंगे. And when Yam came back after 3 days, चित्रगुप्त said कि there is somebody to meet you. He says where? He says वो बाहर. He says बाहर क्या कर रहे हैं, तुमने अंदर क्यों नहीं बिठाया इनको? He says नहीं, no, I can't, मेरे को अलाउड नहीं है. यहाँ पे वही लोग आएंगे जो लोग प्रस्थान कर गए हैं, यहाँ पे तो वो नहीं आएगा, वो बाहर ही बैठेगा, उसका नाम यहाँ पे नहीं मेरे पास है लिस्ट में. तो ही सेड यू ऑल्सो गो एंड मीट हिम आउटसाइड. तो यमा वेंट आउटसाइड एंड देन टॉक्ड, एंड वो दुनिया भर की उसमें ब्यूटिफुल स्टोरी. एंड आई डिसाइडेड टू टेल दिस टू माई नीसेस, एंड दे वर सो इम्प्रेस्ड बाई दिस. एंड बुआ और बोलो ना, और क्या हुआ, फिर क्या हुआ? आई सेड अब तुम अपने आप ढूंढ लो. हम कैसे ढूंढ ले? बिकॉज देयर वर 3 क्वेश्चंस ही आस्क्ड. ही सेज 1 क्वेश्चन वाज कि मरने के बाद क्या होता है, व्हाट हैपेंड आफ्टर लाइफ आफ्टर डेथ. एंड ही कुडंट, And they asked me, he says, बुआ बताओ ना, death कुछ क्या बोला फिर, क्या बोला यम ने? So I said, no, I can't tell you. You will have to read it yourself. He says, हम कैसे पता करेंगे? I said, go and read that book. So they sat down and they found this thing so good. They said, oh my God, you have introduced us to something beautiful. But that is how it has, हमारा जो ये जो एजुकेशन है, सिस्टम जो NEP है, यही तो वो कह रहा है कि अपने जो आपने किया है उसके बारे में तो बताओ लोगों को, उनको पता ही नहीं है, कोई बताने वाला है। हमको किसी ने बताया होता तो हम बहुत पहले से पढ़ना शुरू कर देते, हमने तो ट्रायल एंड एरर के अंदर ही सीख लिया। लेकिन हर किसी के पास तो ये मौका नहीं होता है ना। एज Upadhyay ji very rightly pointed out. He pointed out the basic defects which are there in education system. क्या होता है, जो अच्छे लोग होते हैं वो तो चले जाते हैं कहीं और जो जिनको कहीं और नहीं जा पाते हैं या कहीं और जाना नहीं चाहते हैं वो लोग वहाँ पढ़ा रहे हैं, वो क्या पढ़ाएंगे? they don't know. किसी के पास लाइब्रेरीज भी अवेलेबल नहीं है, किसी के पास इतना पैसा भी नहीं है कि वो किताबें खरीद के अपने बच्चों को दे दे, तो क्या करेगा वो? तो NEP जो है बहुत चीज़ें बातें बहुत कर रहा है, एंड आई सिंसियरली होप हम लोग उस सबको अचीव कर सकें जो वो हम लोगों से चाहते हैं. दिस विल बी द बेस्ट थिंग विच वी कैन डू फॉर आवर चिल्ड्रन. और स्टेट बोर्ड्स के अंदर आप लोग यहाँ पे आए हुए हैं और मेरी बात हो रही थी इंद्रानी जी से, एंड वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट इट. ऐसे उनको ब्लूप्रिंट तो बता दो, ब्लूप्रिंट को पता ही नहीं है उनको. क्वेश्चन पेपर सेट कर देते हैं. आपको मालूम है कि क्वेश्चन पेपर टीचर्स कैसे सेट करते हैं क्लासों में? आपको मालूम है? क्वेश्चन पेपर आप देते हैं ना स्कूलों में टीचर्स को कि बनाइए, बिकॉज आई वॉज अ प्रिंसिपल तो आई नो. वो क्लास में ही बैठ के बच्चों को राइटिंग वर्क दे दिया और आधा घंटे में क्वेश्चन पेपर बन गया, आधा घंटे में क्वेश्चन पेपर बन जाता है. क्यों बन जाता है? ब्लूप्रिंट तो उनके हाथ में है ही नहीं. अगर ब्लूप्रिंट उनके हाथ में होगा तो वो करेंगे, डिज़ाइन होगा तो उनके हाथ में वो करेंगे. अगर आपने सैम्पल दे दिया, देखना भैया ऐसे ही बनना चाहिए, तो वो करेंगे. आप बोर्ड्स को इन सब चीज़ों के ऊपर ध्यान देना पड़ेगा. आई वोंट टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम ओवर हियर एंड आई विल आस्क डॉक्टर अग्रवाल टू स्पीक ऑन द फिलोसॉफिकल अप्रोच इन द एजुकेशन which is his field. He talks about philosophy a lot.
So friends, actually Madam has already set the tone for this presentation. She has already told you what is the basic philosophy of NEP 2020. The key words, 2 years back we had that conference here, and the key words of NEP 2020, one of them is India-based education or Bharat Gyan-based education. Then inclusivity, then holistic. And the theme of that conference was this only, 2 years back, which we had done in Sikkim, which we had organized in Sikkim. Now, what is the philosophy of this? I'll make a presentation in detail now. These are 3 key words, but in detail I will do it now. Alignment with the philosophical approach in the introduction, I have taken it out from the introduction itself. Alignment with the aspiration goals of 21st century education, including sustainable development goals. All of you must be aware of sustainable development goals of the UN. It's all started in 2015, and by 2030, is the goal that all the countries have to attain those goals by 2030. There are 17 goals, I think, and all the countries are working towards it. So our policy also talks about it. It is more concerned with the environment, environmental protection and conservation, because the environment is we have as human beings, we have destroyed environment up till now. And we forgot that we are a part of this environment. And if the environment is destroyed, we also will perish. So it is that kind of thinking which the developmental goals Sustainable Development Goals are talking about. Then instilling knowledge and thought of India, of course, Bharat for developing national pride. Madam has already talked a lot about that. And we have another session where we will talk about this in more detail. Then learning how to learn. In fact, the crux of open schooling is learning how to learn. In the formal system, the teacher spoon feeds the students, and they are not able to think for themselves, they are not able to feel for themselves, they are not able to will for themselves. These are the three functions of the mind, but we don't teach them to do that. But open schooling learners have the freedom to learn, and learn on their own, on their own pace, and they can choose subjects according to their interest and ability, which up till now was not there in formal system. Of course, after this policy, even in the formal system, this choice of subjects will be not restricted now. It will be open, it will be flexible. So learning how to learn, if as teachers, if we are able to make the students learn how to learn themselves, that is the task that we have to do. Then holistic education, of course, that is another key point in the policy. And we have been talking about holistic education for many years now in education, but we have not been able to do it. Now we have to do it. And holistic education will also mean, in the morning also somebody was saying that, livelihood. The Honorable Minister had talked about vocational education and livelihood. So, education for life and education for livelihood. Education for life means you have to make them good persons, good citizens. That is what education should be geared towards. And then vocational education for livelihood. This is one way of looking at holistic education. Of course, there are many other ways. Like when we talk about holistic education, we talk about physical development, mental development, spiritual development, and things like that. But there are different ways of looking at it. Then inclusivity in education, education for all. That was in 1993, there was a conference in Jomtien, UN conference, and there they talked about this education for all. This slogan came from there. But now that slogan has become cliched. It is very old. Now we are talking about inclusivity in education, which is more or less the same thing. So all levels of, like all classes, all groups of people have to be catered to. For example, the Divyang-jans. Our Honorable Prime Minister has given this word for the people with education, people with special needs. They are called Divyang-jans. We had that conference in UNESCO, I was mentioning it on that. Then empowering teachers to restore their high status in society. Somebody was talking in the morning, or maybe in informal discussion, our rishis were scientists. Ancient rishis were really scientists. And teachers, guru has a very high status in our society, which has been lost through the years. So that has to be restored. Envisioning an education system rooted in Indian ethos. Of course, this is from the vision. Now we have come to the vision. That was from the introduction. So this is the same thing in Indian ethos. Transforming India, that is Bharat, sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society, and thereby global knowledge superpower. In fact, Gyan, the word Gyan in Hindi is much more than knowledge in English. Knowledge is actually very superfluous. And even when we teach Bloom's taxonomy in education, we talk about knowledge as the lowest rung in the cognitive domain. In the development of cognitive domain, knowledge is the lowest rung. And then, of course, we talk about understanding and application and analysis, synthesis, evaluation. And now creativity has also been added to that. And when we talk about transforming assessment then we are talking about going to higher levels of assessment, so assessing higher order skills. Up till now, we have been able to reach application only. Providing high quality education to all, of course, developing in the students a deep sense of respect towards fundamental duties and constitutional values, as well as bonding with one's country. Bonding with one's country, I have made it bold. That is very important. What Madam was saying, we have the Britishers, and before them the Muslims, they came and they systematically took us away from our own culture, and we forgot our ancient glory, ancient Indian wisdom. We forgot that ancient wisdom. But now, and so we stopped bonding with our country. We don't love our country. We love other people. We love other religions, other cultures. And we think our culture is nothing. So that has to come now. Instilling among the learners a deep-rooted pride in being Indian, again, in a different way they are saying it. Deep-rooted pride in being Indian, not only in thought, but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds. In 1813, the Britisher Macaulay had said the same words. He wanted education to be molded in such a manner that Indians become Britishers in spirit, intellect, and deeds. Something like that, not exactly the same words, but that is what he had done. And English education was introduced, and we were totally enslaved. Then supporting responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development and living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. It is only here in India that we believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, global citizen. The whole world is a family. That is the philosophy of our culture. We believe that all human beings are one family. So we are global citizens. Then there are guiding principles in the policy. From there, recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique capabilities of each student by sensitizing teachers as well as parents to promote each student's holistic development in both academic and non-academic spheres. This policy, after me, Nidhi will talk about that, the NCF 2023. They have talked about non-academic spheres and academic spheres. They are laying stress on vocational education also. And in secondary, she will tell you later that environmental education is being made compulsory now at the secondary level. So things like that, you will speak more about that in the next presentation. According the highest priority to achieving foundational literacy and numeracy by all students by grade 3. Of course, this is the foundation. We have always talked about 3 R's. Reading, writing, arithmetic. That is the same thing. But some international tests have also proved, the results have showed that our children are lacking in this basic literacy and numeracy. So we have to, and I think a mission has already been set up for literacy and numeracy. It is called Literacy and Numeracy Mission. Then flexibility, so that learners have the ability to choose their learning trajectories. I was talking about that in open schooling system. We have flexibility and programs, and thereby choose their own paths in life according to their talents and interests. Up till now, there were streams, science stream, social science stream, or humanities and commerce stream, and we were restricted in the formal system at least. We were restricted to choose any combination. We could not take any combination. We had to take only science subjects or commerce subjects or humanities. But this is not the way that sometimes in the lectures I say, do we have a point here which is in the mind, in the brain, which is for language, a point for social science, a point for mathematics, a point for commerce. It is not like that. It is holistic. So that is another way of looking at holistic. Interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary we are talking about. So holistic education has to be there. No hard separations between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational and academic streams, etc., in order to eliminate harmful hierarchies among and silos between different areas of learning. It is in our mindset up till it has come that those who study science and maths are superior, which is a myth. All subjects are equal if they are taken seriously and if they are, because every subject has its own place in the world order. In education also, of course, but even in the world order, even in society, every subject is important. And this race, that everyone wants to be engineer or doctor, now it has to change. Multidisciplinarity and a holistic education across the sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities, and sports for a multidisciplinary world in order to ensure their unity and integrity of all knowledge. This is what I was talking about. This is called the world view in philosophy. We have to reach towards the world view. We have to understand our reality, our environment as a whole. They are not compartments. Environment is not divided into compartments. Environment is a whole. And so we are talking about multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity and holistic education. And now the policy is talking about integration, sports integration, arts integration in the curriculum. There will be more about it in the next. Emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning and learning for exams. In the keynote address also this point had come, that we have to move towards, and I was saying, thinking for yourself, feeling for yourself, and willing for yourself. That we don't teach thinking. We just feed them. I remember when we were studying in Department of Education, Delhi University, where I taught also later. One of our teachers used to say, there is a jagmag theory. It is believed that the teacher has a jug which is full over here, and the student has a mug which is empty, and the teacher has to pour into it. So rote learning. Nothing to understand. You don't understand anything. You just commit it to memory. So that has to go. Emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning. Creativity and critical thinking to encourage logical decision making and innovation. Of course, we have been talking about this earlier, and now it is emphasized more. Ethics and human and constitutional values like empathy, respect for others, cleanliness, courtesy, of course, value education we have been talking about for so long. Now these values have to be integrated into all subjects. Value education as a separate subject also can be thought of, but it has to be integrated into all subjects. Then promoting multilingualism and the power of language in teaching and learning. So we are talking about, our languages have to be revived and have to be preserved. And language is the tool for communication, is the tool for understanding, for comprehension. So languages are very important. We can't neglect them. And you will be told in the next presentation that NCF 2023 has made 3 languages compulsory at secondary level and 2 languages compulsory at senior secondary level. Up till now in CBSE and NIOS and other boards, there was only minimum 1 language they could take and maximum 2 languages. But now 2 languages for sure, compulsory in senior secondary and 3 in secondary. Life skills such as communication, cooperation, teamwork, and resilience. We have been talking about life skills for a long time, so they are important. Focus on regular formative assessment for learning rather than the summative assessment that encourages today's coaching culture. Actually, that CCE was introduced by CBSE some years back. That is what formative assessment is, the same thing more or less. But it was done without planning, without making the teachers aware about it, and too much paperwork was there. That's why it failed. But formative assessment has to be there. Just one exam at the end of 1 year or at the end of 2 years is not the way to assess. Like earlier when I was a student, we had higher secondary 3 years. 3 years course used to be tested at the end of 11th class, 9th, 10th and 11th. 3 years course. Then came 10 plus 2, then 2 years course was tested. And then they segregated 11th and 12th and 10th and 9th and 10th, and 1 year course is being tested. Even now it is like that. And now they are talking about semester system also. If there is so much curriculum load, then there will be rote learning, nothing more than that. So that has to be done. And it is the board's responsibility to do it. Full equity and inclusion in the cornerstone of all educational decisions to ensure that all students are able to thrive in the education system. So equity and inclusion, inclusivity, we have already talked about. Extensive use of technology in teaching and learning. This is also coming up now in a very big way. And use of technology. And during COVID period, we made use of it, good use of it. Before that, teachers were not aware of technology at all. But now our teachers know technology. And it has to be used in an efficient and efficacious way. Respect for diversity and respect for the local context in all curriculum, pedagogy, and policy. So this is also important. We have Upadhyay ji sir has talked about this at length, that he introduced the local in the stories and the local aspects he introduced in textbooks. This is in tune with NEP 2020. And he had done it before the NEP in 2020 came into being. Then synergy in curriculum across all levels of education, from early childhood care and education to school education to higher education. Of course, it has to be, it is a continuum. But one thing we forgot, even this policy is silent about it, that for majority of students, senior secondary is a terminal stage. Earlier it used to be secondary. Now it is senior secondary. And we try to cater to students who have to go for higher education, which is, they are the elite. The masses, they are neglected. The masses will not go into higher education. And that's why vocational education is being stressed. Indirectly, NEP is talking about it. That is why vocational education has to come in a big way. Because they have to be prepared for livelihood after senior secondary only. And in fact, even in countries like USA, after senior secondary, they start working, boys and girls. They don't go for higher education, not many of them. Teachers and faculty is the heart of the learning process. Their recruitment, continuous professional development, positive working environments, and service conditions, of course. Teachers' glory has to be restored. Teachers' respect has to be restored. We have stopped respecting our teachers, and that is why, as Madam said, their rate is down in the marriage market, teachers, because we don't think that teaching profession is important, teaching profession. And this is not only in our country. Everywhere it has become like that, except in some countries, some very advanced countries like USA, teachers are respected. And some other countries also, but most of the places, teachers are treated as, low down. Light but tight regulatory framework to ensure integrity, transparency. This is, of course, the boards have to, when they go for, the schools have to be affiliated to boards. For that they are talking about regulatory framework, which should be light but tight. and ensure integrity, transparency. And of course, autonomy has to be given to the institutions, but they have to be regulated also. It's not that they should be, laissez-faire is a term which comes to my mind. Free for all. No, they can do anything they like. It's not like that. But too much restriction is also bad. They say that all extremes are bad. And of course, they are talking about outstanding research as a co-requisite for outstanding education and development. Continuous review of progress based on sustained research and regular assessment by educational experts. Of course, NCERT does that, SCERT does that in states, so that has to be done. Our rootedness and pride in India, again it has come, and its rich, diverse, ancient and modern culture and knowledge systems and traditions. Then education is a public service. Somebody had mentioned it, that education is a public service. Access to quality education must be considered a basic right of every child. And now it has to be till 12th. Right to Education Act was still from 6 to 14 years of age, till 8th class. Now, NCERT has already started working on this. They are reviewing or modifying the RTE Act. The keynote speaker of today had told me, yesterday over the phone, that this is being done. Then substantial investment in a strong, vibrant public education system, as well as the encouragement and facilitation of true philanthropic private and community participation. Now let us take a look at the provisions in the policy with regard to school education. Structure of school education has changed. Somebody talked about 5+, Professor K.M. Gupta was talking about, the structure has from 10+2, it has changed to 5+3 +4 +4. It has changed. Early childhood care and education, foundational literacy and numeracy, this is being stressed in school education. Curtailing dropouts and ensuring universal access to education at all levels. We have a session on this, role of open school education boards in this. Then curriculum and pedagogy in schools. This session is on that actually. Then learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable and engaging. That is what this session is also talking about. Language issues, yes, language is important, and not only, in fact, up till now what has happened, especially in the north, we only read English and Hindi. I know only 2 languages. But if the 3-language formula had been implemented in the right spirit, I would have known at least 3 languages, but it did not happen. I know only 2 languages, English and Hindi. Then curricular integration of essential subjects, skills and capacities. So we have talked about sports integration, arts integration, and all those things. Transforming assessment for student development, the keynote address was on that. So this is the essence of the philosophy of NEP 2020 that I have taken out from the policy, from the introduction, from the vision, and from the guiding principles. And of course, with regard to school education, there are some chapters on school education. I have taken out from there. So this is the philosophy behind the NEP 2020. If we are able to understand this much and then think about how to implement it, then we will do our job. And the education boards have a role to play in that. All right? Thank you.
Nidhi talks about enlightens us more. Continuous, you talked about rote learning. Interestingly, हमारे देश में rote learning पे ज़्यादा emphasis थी. But outside, the individual learning पे भी. I remember हम लोग जो जहाँ पे बैठे हैं, ऑफ कोर्स कुछों को छोड़कर, कुछ बच्चों को छोड़कर यहाँ पे, लेकिन जो ज़रा ज़्यादा उसमें है, तो आपको याद होगा हम लोगों को वो पहाड़े सिखाए जाते थे, टेबल्स. वी लर्न टेबल्स, and in Hindi also, you know, and English also, we learn tables and we mug them up properly. I was in Tokyo and I bought something from there, and I said कि कितना I asked him how much money. So he said, I said it is only so much yen. I said, so much yen, you are wasting time. He said, you're right. So much yen. I said, पहले ही सुन लेता मेरी बात. बट इंडिया में हम लोगों ने ये रोट लर्निंग कर करके ना, वी हैव लर्न थिंग्स अप. ऐसा नहीं है कि आवर सिस्टम वॉज बैड, द सिस्टम वॉज गुड, बिकॉज हमारे एंशिएंट टाइम्स में क्या था? स्मृति, स्तुति. याद कैसे होगा? स्मृति में कैसे जाएगी ना? जब बोलेंगे. व्हेन यू आर कंटिन्यूसली रिपीटिंग समथिंग, यू विल स्टार्ट learning. When I was in school, we learnt a prayer and I knew it by heart. But what I did not learn, it took me a lot of time to learn. So it becomes a little difficult. And then we talk about, very interestingly, Kuldeep sir talked about jagmug theory. You know, the jug is there. But अगर जग ही आधा खाली हो, तो मग कैसे भरेगा? You know, तो पहले तो हमें को टीचर्स को पकड़ना पड़ता है. We have to catch the teachers. चाहे कितना भी NEP आ जाए, लेकिन टीचर्स के ऊपर भी तो हमें एम्फेसाइज करना पड़ेगा. हमारी मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट लिंक टीचर है. द टीचर इज़ द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट पर्सन. आपको उसको पकड़ना है, आपको उनको समझाना है कि जो भी आपने अभी बोला डॉक्टर अग्रवाल ने, व्हेन ही वाज टॉकिंग, ही वाज सेइंग दैट ही टॉक्ड अबाउट NEP के जो फिलोसफी है, बट जैक्स डेलॉस हैज़ टॉक्ड अबाउट इट लॉन्ग टाइम बैक. लर्निंग टू लर्न, लर्निंग टू डू, लर्निंग टू बी, लर्निंग टू लिव इन पीस. He talked about all those things. जैक्स डेलॉस ने तो मेरे ख्याल 94-95 में प्रोफेसर राजपूत ने करी थी कॉन्फ्रेंस, उस यूनेस्को की कॉन्फ्रेंस थी. Delos commission had come in, Jacques Delos. He talked about all these things. Learning to live in peace and harmony. We have not learnt. रोज़ टीवी खोलो तो कोई ना कोई मर रहा है, कोई कुछ हो रहा है, and you feel sad. But क्या हम कुछ कर पा रहे हैं? No, we are not able to do it. Because हमें ये जो भी करना है वो स्कूलों में करना है. हमने अपने बच्चों को समझाना है कि this is जो तुमने दिया ही नहीं. Have you given life to anybody? How can you take away that life from that person? तो ये चीज़ें जो है we have to catch the teachers also. And I'm sure कि NEP के में टीचर्स के भी ऊपर भी कुछ ना कुछ मेंशन ज़रूर किया गया होगा. So Nidhi, the mic is yours.
Good afternoon to the esteemed guests present here. I will be covering the topic National Curriculum Framework 2023 and implications for School Education Board. So since NCF is basically based on the philosophy of NEP only, most of the topics have already been covered that I'll be covering, but I'll just brief you about some of those. Let's first introduce NCF SE, that is School Education 2023. After a long period of 18 years, NCF came into being, and earlier it was that was followed was NCF 2005. We know that since India is growing at a fast pace, so there is a need for the education system to grow. Reason being that education is one of the important aspect, and the learners will be the future generation of India who will lead India to the first level. So coming to the introduction to NCF, it is based on the philosophy of NEP 2020, which is built upon promotion of universalization of school education, providing inclusive, flexible, and quality school education for life and livelihood. It emphasizes on imparting vocational skills with academic education for sustainable development of the nation and society. It embodies the forward-thinking vision for education in India. Coming to the division of NCF SE 2023, it is organized into 5 parts. The first one being aims of school education, that covers the content, It covers the time allocation, the pedagogy, and assessment that is to be covered. It also covers the school stages and how it is to be divided. The second part is the part B, which is on important cross-cutting themes. I'll be discussing about it in brief in the next slides. Reason being that this is the wholesome philosophy of NCF and that the school boards have to follow when they'll be implementing it in making the curriculum and the textbooks and to teach the students. The part 3, that is part C, is on school subjects. It has been divided into different subject areas like language, science, social sciences, then there is also vocational, mathematics, skill education, and art education, and similarly other subject areas. The part D is on school culture and processes, which talks about how the schools should proceed ahead, the environment that they should provide the students, and how there has to be the implementation of NCF in the school. The last part is part E, which is on ecosystem of schooling, which also talks about how the school system has to work so that they can cater to the needs of the student in a better way. Coming to the philosophy and the cross-cutting themes that are mentioned in NCF 2023, the first one being rootedness in India and Indian knowledge system. This has been talked in this entire technical session, how Anita ma'am also talked about how she had been learning history, how the teachers had been teaching history. There was also a mention of how Upanishads have many knowledge that we can give to the students, and similarly Dr. Kuldeep Agarwal also talked about how it is needed in current situation. We know that the history of India is long forgotten, and the students still fail to realize their culture, where they came from, their rootedness to their culture is long lost. So there is a need for the curriculum to be built in such a way that students can be proud to say that we are Indians and this is our contribution to the world, and things similar to that. So NCF has focused on it so that the students can know that what their culture really is. Second is values and disposition. Upadhyay sir mentioned about the intolerance in people, how there is disrespect amongst people, amongst colleagues, and if you're going around and let's just say that you're moving on a road and you bump into someone, there will be a clash between two people, and so values and disposition is long lost and long forgotten. It needs to be catered to, and the students from the initial level itself needs to be taught about what are the moral values, what is the need to inculcate these values in students, and they should know the rights and wrongs that are needed. The next one is learning about and caring for the environment. So we are where we live. Environment is a great part environment makes us who we are. So it needs a little care. Environment in itself is a provider, and it needs a little care. So we as a human are failing to provide the bare minimum that environment needs. And the basic level from which we can teach the people today is from the school level, that how they can take care of the environment, like not throwing litter here and there, and planting trees, taking care of the trees. And now that we know that there is a lot of pollution, especially in metropolitan cities, where we face, where we have to wear the mask every now and then, like since I am from Delhi, we have seen that during the past few days, it was Diwali, and then the pollution was unbearable. And since this is because of the environment that we live in and we don't take care of it, it needs to be inculcated in the students so that they can take care of the environment as well. Inclusion in school is the next point. So we know, let's just suppose that we are in a group of 20 people and we are not included in the group, reason being that there is a language barrier. So I suppose that me being the alone person in there, I'll not feel good. Let's suppose how would a student feel about it if they are not included in a group. So be it external factor or the internal factor, external factor where they have no control, let's just say a disability that they cannot overcome, or the internal factor where they have to build in confidence or things like that. So there has to be, the teacher, the school should provide an environment where every student is included in the group, wherein the forgotten student is asked to come up and is encouraged to give their part to be included in the group. So NCF also talks about it, and it also emphasizes on how the curriculum has to be made, wherein the disabilities, the caste, creed, and things like that can be neglected, and the textbooks and the curriculum can be made so that every person can be included and can feel included. The next one is guiding and counseling in school. According to the WHO report that came in 2017, it was noticed that there was a significant level of stress amongst adolescents. So this was before the COVID came in. Now, after COVID, what happened was there were online classes wherein the students were not socializing with their friends, they were not going out. Imagine the stress level today. Now that the schools have opened, it had been normalized to go out, but yet there had been some of the stress factor that was there, which have not been, catered to, that still needs to be catered. So this is something that the school must keep in mind, that there has to be certain kind of guidance and counseling in school, so that the person who is stressed, because you will never know if the student is stressed, because if a student comes to you and say that, oh, I am worried about my exam, I cannot give my exam, and it is creating a tension in me. So what we usually do is we neglect it, because we think that it is a minimal thing, or itni choti si baat ki kya tension leni. So this is something that the school must cater to. Of course, there is a part that parents also play, but there is school, the teachers that should cater to it. Then comes the educational technology in schools. So basically, like Dr. Kuldeep Agarwal also mentioned, that during the COVID times, there was an increase in the, in the use of technological tools, let's say a PowerPoint presentation, online classes that were being conducted. So similarly, there has been a shift in the traditional schooling system to what we are following now, and the school should look at it that the educational technology is available in school, and every teacher is equipped with it and is well trained. Next, we come to the scheme of studies that is mentioned in National Curriculum Framework. We'll talk about the secondary level first. So it states that there will be 3 languages that will be made compulsory, R1, R2, and R3, out of which at least 2 should be native to India. Other than that, 3 languages, plus there have to be 7 other academic subjects. So this is something, yes, so yeah. Yes. So if you look at this figure, it has 3 languages, then it has mathematics. It also has science, social science, art education, environmental education is also made compulsory, physical educational, and vocation education. Apart from these, there have to be external examination as well as local assessment with external examination. If you look at it, there are 7 subjects with external examination, and the rest 3 are local assessment with external examiner. Coming to the senior secondary level, like it is there in secondary, they have made 3 languages compulsory. In senior secondary, they have made 2 languages compulsory and 4 subjects from at least 2 of the groups, namely Group 2, Group 3 and Group 4. These are the Group 2, Group 3 and Group 4. The Group 2 is on art education, music, dance, etc., physical education, vocational education. Group 3 is on social science, history, geography, political science, interdisciplinary areas, commerce, environmental education. Group 4 is on mathematics and computational thinking, mathematics, programming, coding, etc., science, physics, chemistry. So these are the certain areas, certain subjects that have to be offered to the students, and the students are free to choose from amongst any 2 of these groups. Since we have talked about what NCF have to offer, we must also look at what we as a board, we as a school can do to cater to their, implement the NCF in a better way. So the first one is quality education. Of course, before the NCF also, there has been a focus on that we should offer quality education to the students and not just rote memorize, help them in rote memorizing the concepts, but provide quality education with examples and real life experiences. We should also foster inclusive, adaptable, community focused educational system to the students. We should offer subjects as per the schemes of studies that have already been discussed. There has to be the curricula and textbooks to be developed as per the NCF. And the teacher training program is a must because NCF brings about a lot of changes that have not been followed till date, and the teachers who will be implementing, who will be dealing with the students, the education system, the schools need to be equipped with such things. So there has to be certain training programs so that the teachers can cater to their needs. There has to be promotion of assessment of literacy among teachers and learners. Now, being an open schooling board, we also play a role in the implementation of NCF, and these are the points that we should keep in mind when we are implementing the NCF. So, Open Schooling Board is known for its accessibility and flexibility in the education system. Reason being that students can come up and give their exam as per their choice. So there has to be more accessibility and flexibility in education. The inclusivity and alignment with national educational objectives have to be kept in mind because, of course, Open Schooling Board does, keep in mind to take in all the students they do cater to the inclusivity part. So the development of curriculum has to be as per the NCF. There has to be quality education for both the regular school as well as the Open Schooling Board. Self-paced open and distance learning has to be provided to the students. The development of learning material has to be done as per the NCF, and there has to be emphasis on skill development as well. So this is all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nidhi. You have really enlightened. You and Kuldeep, both of you have done quite a good job on telling us what the NCF is all about.
Thank you.
And it's been done really well. And you have worked hard on it. And I think all of us must have gained a lot from it. I was wondering about the 3-language formula. Third language को तो 2 language तो समझ में आती है, अंग्रेजी कुछों को आती है तो पढ़ लेते हैं हम लोग. जो हमारा मदर लैंग्वेज है वो भी हम पढ़ लेते हैं. बट थर्ड लैंग्वेज का क्या होगा, आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड. I was trying, when I read this, of course, it's not bad. And they said any one language, either foreign language or... I remember when in my post-graduation, I picked up French. And I was in the class and I raised my hand and told the teacher, Thoda sa Angrezi, please tell us in English also, ma'am. She put a pen down, she told me, she says, have you come here to learn about French or English? I said, French. She says, then you cannot study French. I cannot translate it for you. And then I realized that she was so right. You know, in most of our government schools, what happens when we teach students, what happens, we translate English into our own language, whatever language we are doing, and then we go back and retranslate into English and then answer. Supposing I ask you a question, where is the cat sitting? The teacher will say, the cat, and where is she sitting? बिल्ली कहाँ बैठी है? Then वो English में answer देगा. The cat sat on the wall. अब उस cat is sitting on the wall नहीं होगा, cat sat on the wall हो जाएगा. So you know, translation के अंदर हम लोग हमारे प्रॉब्लम ही हमारी एजुकेशन सिस्टम में यही है कि हम लोग जो हैं वो सिस्टम को पकड़ नहीं पा रहे हैं और उसी के अंदर ही हम घूमते रह जाते हैं. एंड ऐसे क्या होता है, हमारे सिस्टम के अंदर क्रिएटिविटी भी नहीं है. क्रिएटिविटी के लिए क्रिएटिविटी बहुत ज़रूरी है हमारे सिस्टम के अंदर. और ओपन लर्निंग में तो मुझे समझ में नहीं आता कि कैसे हम लोग कर सकते हैं. बिकॉज मैंने जो देखा है ओपन स्कूल, नेशनल ओपन स्कूल के अंदर देखा है, एंड वी वर आई वाज एडिटिंग देयर हिस्ट्री बुक्स, हिस्ट्री एंड कल्चर वाला बुक्स, एंड रियली बहुत मेहनत कर करके तो उसको लिखा लोगों ने, और उतनी ही मेहनत करके हम लोगों ने एडिट भी किया. हम कई लोग उसमें मेंबर्स थे. एंड एट द एंड ऑफ द डे दे हैड पिक्ड अप द चैम्पियन वाली कुंजी, यू नो, कुंजियाँ पकड़ पकड़ के दे रटोड इट ऑफ और आंसर दे दी. और एग्ज़ाम के बाद जो है वो सारी कुंजियाँ कमरे के बाहर पड़ी हुई मिल जाती थी. विच द पर्सन जो बेचता था सड़क पर बैठकर, वो जल्दी जल्दी उसके नौकर आके उसको बटोरते थे और फिर वो दोबारा फैल जाती थी, बिक जाती थी या फिर इकट्ठी हो जाती थी. सो यू डोंट नो हाउ टू मेक पीपल अंडरस्टैंड. फिर उसके बाद हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं कि नॉलेज को इतना कंप्रेस करके एक ही किताब में इतना कुछ भर रहे हैं दैट आई थिंक द टीचर हु इज सेटिंग द क्वेश्चन पेपर डज नॉट नो हाउ टू सेट दैट पेपर. लॉन्ग आंसर तो उसको पता ही नहीं चलता मैं कहाँ से शुरू करूँ और कहाँ ख़त्म करूँ उसको जाके. और बच्चों को भी और टीचर को जो ब्राइट टीचर्स हैं वो बता देती है बच्चों को इसमें से ये आएगा और इसमें से ये आएगा, क्योंकि 8 नंबर का क्वेश्चन तो इसी में से ही आएगा. तो बच्चा घोंटे मार मार के उसको याद करता है, अच्छी तरीके से याद कर लेता है, पास हो जाता है. फिर MCQs आते हैं, उसको मालूम है 40 में से 30 आ गए ना, बस 3 ही तो चाहिए, ज़्यादा क्या करना है मेहनत करके. लेकिन MCQ इज़ वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट. मेरे को तो लगता है अगर मेरे को पढ़ना पड़ता है MCQs तो फेल ही हो जाती. आई वोंट नो व्हाट टू डू, क्योंकि इतना डिफ़िकल्ट है. बट दे नो, बिकॉज अब उनका बड़ा सिंपल सा फार्मूला है ABC. एक को एक मारा, फिर दूसरे में B मारा, फिर तीसरे में C मारा, फिर अगेन ABC. कुछ तो सही होगा ना, कहीं तो सही होंगे, सारा गलत हो ना. इतना हम अनपढ़ तो नहीं है ना. ABC. ये इस तरीके से बच्चे पढ़ लेते हैं. तो दे हैव लर्नड द ईजियर वे टू लर्न. तो आई डोंट नो, आई गॉड ब्लेस द NCF ऑल्सो. आई डोंट नो कि कैसे होगा. आई रियली वॉन्ट माई कंट्री टू कम अप, बिकॉज कई साल पहले जब मैं बाहर जाती थी तो वो इंडियंस आ रहे हैं, ओ बाहर जाओ, दे वुड नॉट इवन टॉक टू अस. वी वर सो इंसल्टेड. इतना बेइज्जती हमारी होती थी इंडियंस की. बट टुडे मर्सीफुली आज जब जाते हैं दे स्माइल एट यू, से आइए, कम, आई हैव लॉट्स ऑफ न्यू थिंग्स टू शो यू, एंड यू फील प्राउड. I don't know what you feel, but when ये हाउडी क्या था, हाउडी मोदी हो रहा था बाहर, तो दैट टाइम आई वॉज इन मिलानो एंड आई वॉज इन दी होटल लॉबी के अंदर. मैंने कहा खाना खाने जाऊँ, तो वहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा टेलीविज़न लगा था. दे ऑल वांटेड टू सी हाउडी मोदी. दैट वाज इन मिलानो इन इटली. आई सरप्राइज, आई डोंट नो व्हाई दे वर सो इंटरेस्टेड. खैर इन्होंने, और फिर उसके बाद बहुत जोर जोर से तालियां बज रही इन द हॉल, ओके, नॉट इन द टेलीविजन, इन द हॉल. And I went out to see कि हो क्या रहा है. And there I saw the our prime minister standing there, मेरा प्रधानमंत्री. And people clapping. You know, the Italians and the other foreigners जो भी थे वहाँ पे, Indian में तो मैं ही थी. And honestly, will you believe it or not, I cried. मेरे को इतना रोना आया because I felt so proud. Oh, मेरे प्राइम मिनिस्टर के लिए तालियां बज रही हैं इतनी ज़ोर ज़ोर से. I felt happy. एंड आई थिंक अगर हमारा ये करिकुलम हम लोग जो कर रहे हैं, अगर हम लोग कामयाब हो जाते हैं, आई एम वेरी श्योर कि वी विल ऑल फील प्राउड ऑफ आवर कंट्री. एंड दैट्स व्हाट आई वांट टू फील. आई वांट टू फील प्राउड ऑफ माय ओन कंट्री, ऑफ माय ओन कल्चर, ऑफ माय ओन सिविलाइजेशन, ऑफ माय ओन पीपल. ये बहुत ज़रूरी है. सो प्लीज़, आप बोर्ड्स के लोग हैं और बोर्ड्स स्कूलों में तो इतना ज़्यादा नहीं पहुँच पाते हैं, लेकिन अगर आप पहुँच पाते हैं, एंड इफ़ यू आर एबल टू कंट्रोल द बोर्ड्स, if you are able to control the schools under you, I'm sure कि we will not be lagging behind. हम कम नहीं हैं. Let me assure you, हम लोग कम नहीं हैं. People abroad, they want to send their students, they want their Indian education system to be implemented there. They want our system to be implemented there. वो कहते हैं ये ज़्यादा अच्छा है, आपका system बहुत अच्छा है, हमारा system इतना अच्छा नहीं है. And I was wondering कि हमें तो ये बताया जाता था कि हमारा system ही कुछ नहीं है. You know, पता नहीं क्यों उनका अब ये ऐसा क्यों महसूस हो रहा है. But वो भी अच्छा खुशी हुई थी, अच्छा लगा था. And I say best of luck to this new system which has come in, and I hope we all succeed. So thank you very much. And again, I must please एक जोरदार ताली बजा दीजिए बोसे के लिए. You know, एक छोटा बच्चा इतना बड़ा काम कर जाए, they deserve. They deserve it, isn't it? तो ये बाकी boards भी come forward, please. Thank you so much. अब किसका है? टी ब्रेक. अच्छा, हम टी ब्रेक को देंगे. टाइम क्या है?
Thank you so much, Anita Devraj ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Kuldeep sir and Miss Nidhi Kapoor. We shall now resume after a short tea break for the second technical session. Thank you.